the last time we talked to you, the transfers hadn't been on campus yet. So holistically with the transfer class, what do you feel like is kind of the biggest need you guys filled with it?
Well, I think again we look to improve the things defensively, get ourselves in a position depth-wise. It's probably something we'll talk about all the way up till first game and beyond, that we have to do better defensively and through some of the graduation and attrition, we had to address some things there, and I like what we've been able to do. Today was one of the first days really to be around the guys, kind of see them run around and do some things. I think we've added some speed and some physicality, and that was obviously a priority. And then I think again the offensive line, we wanted to look in there as bringing in Spencer and Logan, bigger bodies, and losing Earl. We wanted to keep adding competition and depth in that. Even though the other four return, we want to make sure that we'll keep the competition and depth and things going there. That gives us more opportunities to mix and match and play some guys in different spots.
At the start of camp, we talked a lot about the offensive line depth and you wanting to build that out. I guess since August 1st, how pleased are you with the additions you guys have had and maybe building some of that depth?
Oh, I think we're making good progress. Is exactly where we want. At fall camp we lost James Livingston early to a broken leg, and he came back again. One of those great benefits of being in a bowl game was he returned for practice and recoup some of that time, overcome that hurdle of what's it going to be like going back out there. So now he's kind of hitting it running. Kobe Baines, I thought, has been a nice addition. He brings us flexibility. He's been mainly playing tackle, but really started off when he got here inside as a guard. Physical player with really good feet. But he joined us towards the end of camp or midway through, so that's tough. So, and of course, Amarje Adams-Reed is a guy that just is another guy who continues to get better and grow. And there's a couple other guys at other positions, and bringing up Amarje kind of is one of those things where we all want things to happen now and immediately, but some guys are gonna kind of grow through the process in many different ways through the maturing process, whether it be just personally or understanding the speed of the game or the offense and schematics, a lot of those things. And I think he's really put himself in a good position to help us. We've had to use Michael Ford in a lot of different spots, and not necessarily in games, but in practices. Mike Nowitzki got banged up late in the year. He had some postseason surgery, so it's kind of limited. But Michael's had to play some center as well and played some tackle, and that helps you. But sometimes late in the year, that also hurts you in continuity and the real reps that you're going to need for games, because you're kind of trying to cover the what ifs. And I think you watching the NFL, all of a sudden you don't know the what ifs and how many quarterbacks you're going to go through and what it's going to be and the contingency plans. And sometimes when you plan for that, you're taking away some of the other things. But I do think we're moving in that direction. Like I said last year, I think I probably didn't realize it in the midst of that first season how much we lost off that second offensive line. We thought we had the starters, but the gap of development and losing some of those guys, was something that we knew we had to address now.
And can you talk a little about Logan and what you guys saw from him, and maybe just the vetting process you guys did with him?
Well, obviously he was a pretty highly recruited guy. It's kind of like when he came on his visit, and about a couple of guys like well, Cal, who's that guy? It's like, it's a different looking body. Great person. We knew enough people in the Wisconsin program. A change of senior's probably good for him. It doesn't give, he's not assured anything here, but everything that we went through and getting to know him and really matched up. Coach Gildersleeve, is from that same area in Michigan, has lived, and his high school strength coach and Coach Gildersleeve knew each other, and so there was a commonality there that everything Logan was kind of looking for in some other ways that he felt very comfortable. So there's a lot of things that matched up, and you checked the boxes, and we're awful excited to have him.
Hey Lance,
Yep.
I don't know how far you've gone away to ever get a recruit, but you're coming from Australia.
Yeah, I didn't get a home visit out of that, Kurt, so I don't know what's going on. I'm going to try to though. We got to be better in special teams, and we got to be better in both kicking and punting. You look at a lot of things that happen. A lot of people have gone that route, and we felt we found a good one, and he'll arrive this summer and continue working on his craft down there and with his training people. So again, and now I'm sitting, but I stood before you last year and said we're going to create a culture of competition, and we have to continue to do that in each every way, and I think we have done so in kicking and punting as well.
You lose Lonnie Phelps after the early signing day, and then you come back with Joyner. Can you just talk about what you saw in him?
Yeah, him and Austin Booker both, again, are going to help us. We lost, Malcolm Lee, Zion DuBose as well. Yeah, happy for Lonnie, selfishly disappointed for us, but again, at the same time, to see where Lonnie's at and the opportunities he's getting in the Senior Bowl and the Combine is really a tribute to him and what he was able to do here and really throughout his career. But full disclosure, Lonnie was pretty upfront with us where this was all trending from the start. Once we finished the regular season, and to his credit, even to Earl's credit, with a lot, again, I think it says something about those two guys, the rest of our seniors. We didn't have guys opting out, okay, and Earl was talking to me about his all-star opportunities, and here I thought he was going to tell me he wasn't going to play, and oh no, I'm not missing this opportunity for this program and to be with my teammates, and the same thing with Lonnie. So that was I want to make sure that those guys and kind of where they were at with us. Patrick's one that, again, we looked at opportunities. As you guys are well aware, the portal moves really fast now. In the month of December, evaluating a lot of people, and then it's a scramble to get people that are going to squeeze in those times for those visits, and to get Patrick here and the places that he's been and what he's trying to do is somebody that I think, along with Austin Booker, is going to give us great competition in depth and people that have played in college football games that can help us get better.
I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here.
Uh-oh.
You guys get through the season, you go to bowl practice, you go to the bowl, you come back, and then you have 1 weekend off, and you got portal guys visiting. That goes through now, and then the portal's going to kick back up here in April. Is there anything they can do to ease this up on you guys?
I'm sorry, to ease up?
To ease this, make it a little easier?
They're talking about it. There's some things. In fact, there's something coming up that I've got to respond to some questions that we're looking at. And there's talks. The problem that I don't, it's easy to have a lot of suggestions, but to have actual pure solutions that work has always been a tough thing. And then again, what's everybody's agenda? I like to get the best agenda for everybody. That's the high school player, the portal player, the parents, the assistant coaches, spouses, anyone that has to work on a recruiting weekend. Like, you're right, because half, 3/4 of the staff didn't go to our convention that you normally go to. We don't have time, and we just have to find a way to balance the high school calendar, our season and bowl calendar, spring ball, end of school year. Some people are semesters, some are trimesters. When you're going to open this up, when does summer school start? There's just a lot of, and you cover recruiting, so you're looking at this, but there's other, and then it's like, well, these schools are going to have spring football. These people don't start till this time, and when can you go out? and how many days can people, come on your campus, and how many times can you go out? And it's tough. It's, there's concern in this profession for the assistant coaches especially. At this point with everything that's changing, as we gravitate more to it's always been a 12-month deal in a different way, but the travel and the other things, and now the weekends that kind of continually bleed into each other, there's concern that a lot of guys are going to try to get to professional football before this becomes professional football.
Coach, what have you seen from Demarius McGee, and how can he impact the team on the defensive end?
Well, he was, like I said, I just saw the guys today, and he's just kind of getting going. Because of his commitment, signing, getting turned around, he wasn't cleared for everything. He's only been going for about seven days of workouts, but very talented guy, great cover skills. Again, somebody that is, played good snaps in a high quality program. So we hope again that that's going to help us depth, and not meaning that he's going to push for time. He's going to be in different packages, and again, it's an opportunity for our team to get better. And in fact, when I was on the road here last week, ran into a coach from his former school, and he had nothing but positive things about him. And if he stays healthy and does the things that he needs to, he doesn't see any reason why that he won't be a fine addition and help this team.
You guys obviously lost the top 3 defensive tackles in terms of snaps. Can you talk about what Gage and Devin bring?
Well, athleticism, quickness, strength. Devin's a big body, wide body. He's not the tallest guy, but played a lot of football. Gage is a guy who's a former basketball player. He's played a little inside, a little outside. So really anxious to see what they can give us in that. Again, moving spring ball up like we have, we don't get the fullest of winter strength training that we want. We kind of push that into the second part of spring and then parlay it into the summer. But so to see that all kind of transpire, that'll be a part 2 answer maybe as we go through camp. We did redshirt Ron McGee and Keenan Caldwell this year, that we knew we had players that those seniors that you were talking about, we were kind of backlogged there a little bit, and a lot of guys that had played the year before. But as we alluded to there, is we've got to be better against the run, and be better as a defense, and being able to put pressure on the quarterback and other things. But we feel that those are definitely going to be nice additions.
And you mentioned the athleticism off the top, just in that defensive line room as a whole. How much do you feel like you've improved just the athletic capabilities of those guys?
I think we've improved. I think that group got better interior-wise as the season went on. You remember last year we talked about changing how we were going to try to attack it a little bit. I think we saw flashes of that at times, but there were some times I think we kind of reverted back against some people that we're into some older habits and just a way of doing it. And as we continue to go as a defense, that's something that as the coaches now have been off the road and doing things 3 days off of being, getting into watching our cut-ups from the season, addressing on how we want to make changes to it. We're still at an early part of that, and are going to continue to make our changes and improvements.
And I want to circle back to December. Forgot to ask about the wide receivers, but with Saraz, Jared, and Keaton, just what stands out about the group of young wide receivers you added?
That we added, I think we were able to, when you work in an 11 personnel type offense, we're so multiple, but you're still looking at as many of the base thoughts is that we're able to recruit 3 different, we felt, body types. And, Jared Sample's got excellent speed. He's been in a good program, all these guys come from really good football programs, which is also good because, football is important and where it's been at and where it's been coached. Saraz is probably one that just in body and gaining weight, he understands that. It's great that he's mid-year enrollee and but he's highly competitive and got a great attitude, very smart. Keaton's the one I had a chance to see him play, and he's really a good football player, and he's not afraid to play on an excellent team, been asked to do a lot. A lot of times you don't see guys, and he's a guy that's wants to be on the punt return team and block punts. He's gonna block on the perimeter. He's not gonna bat an eye about being on the front row of the kick return team. Things like that, and guys like that have a chance to help us many ways, and oftentimes early.
What do you think about Jason's decision to come back for another year?
I think it's awesome. It's something we were trying to work on for quite a while. And he was contemplating things a lot of different ways. And even when he decided to at first, like he was going to just essentially move on and see what would happen, we told him that we would want to keep having conversations, and the door was open, but we didn't want to pressure him, and we didn't want him to feel like anything was going to be different the last month of the season. So extremely excited about it and what he can add to our team in different ways. I still reflect on how many times have I said it in here now about how much how well he had played in August, and he had good games for us during the season, and you saw that improvement. But I've also seen Jason now over, really since the end of that game, and that's challenging for a young man, and to continue to see his growth and maturity and confidence and all the things you want people to be with or without football. That's been exciting. He's a good teammate. He's never come in my office and disgruntledly talk about, not feeling he got an opportunity or anything like that. He's very supportive and has a great relationship with Jalen. Those are all good things that this program needs and wants. So having him around for another year, I couldn't be more excited about that. And again, as things were playing out in the first part of the signing class, it worked out the way it was supposed to, because we were able to keep the scholarship with an upperclassman and a guy that's already helped his football team win games.
Did you know before the bowl game that he was coming back, or was that something you learned
No,
after?
it was afterwards. I can't even, I'd have to look at my phone exactly when we all started, but it was around, after the game, actually, I checked in on him a few times and stuff, but just to see how he was doing, but then we started talking a little bit more, and he had talked with Coach Gildersleeve a lot, and everyone thought it was trending in a good direction, and then he made the decision that he wanted to still be part of it. And again, as you guys know, to me that's such a positive. We talk about the additions to the team, but we're definitely in a good position of where this program used to be as far as attrition goes, especially mid-year attrition. And that's something I'm proud of. Something our staff is proud of, and we want to continue it. So when guys have that opportunity and still elect to be here, because he really had three options, right? He can go play somewhere else. He can just try to make it to the next level in some capacity, or he comes back. And so for that to happen, I think again is things that we keep building upon.
To follow up on that, how much of guys like that and guys who had some success this past year, what can they do for all these newcomers, and how quick can that happen as far as your culture goes?
Well, again, today's a culture day for us. We do this is the one day that the team's really all together, not just in their workout times. They do some conditioning and things, and then they shower up, whatever, and come back, and then we do our culture talks and our culture teams and a lot of different things. So when they see that, there's the first part that is an action part where they're doing things, where they get to see how we're going about things, the attention to detail, the finish, how we're going to compete. But then they get in groups and talk, and we talk about different things, and so they get to see that, and they get to see, today was a lot about goal setting and things like that, and what's the proper way to set goals and realistic goals, and how you're gonna look at them each and every day, and try to, and it's not just whether or not your statistics or playing or whatever, how you're gonna just get better at the day-to-day thing. So when we have as many guys that have been through that already, it's definitely gonna help. And it helps with this mid-year group. And then again, we're gonna need it to happen again in June.
With that same concept in mind, did this class, I hate to say the word easy, I've done that to you a couple of times, but did this class come together a little easier because of that foundation that's in place now? You can point to it, to these kids you're recruiting and say, here's who we are, and it's a little easier for them to see maybe?
There's nothing easy at this thing right now. I don't want to ever, there'll be nothing that we'll ever take for granted. I think, but a one time through it, Matt, I do think that there's, when a player comes and he has a player host versus a year or so, a year ago, June versus, probably, I don't know. I didn't look at it, and I maybe should have, was how much of this class had committed during the summer, okay, even before we played, even before we had a sellout or college game day or a bowl bid. These guys wanted to be here, okay? And now we've already turned many times through to the next class. Now, some of this success, I don't want to say easier, but we're getting probably players that weren't necessarily interested in talking before wanting to have conversations. But the easier part, I think the nice thing is that they've been able to see, the program and what's happening and how we go about it. But they've had a chance to see what this campus and community is about and everything else. And I think that's the other part, is that they wanted to be here, not just because we went to a bowl game or any of the other things. But the easier part is, I guess if you're looking for any of the easier parts, is that this staff has been together. So the routine of the recruiting staff and of the setting this up and how we're doing it, and the players that are around these young men as they're talking, now they have tangible things about how it's done and where it's going that they can tell. It's not us talking about hopes, okay? So now we talk about some production on the field, and hopefully by the time the summer comes, we're gonna have renderings and drawings and things about that are actually gonna change and how this place is gonna be better. And now things start to stack on top of each other, and you have a chance to build a program for the long haul.
The other thing, your schedule came out, you probably knew it before yesterday, but anything jump
Not
out to you?
necessarily.
Yeah?
I knew the first 3 games, but
Yeah. Anything jump out to you immediately upon that first glance at the whole slate?
not really. We know, we've added 4 quality football programs to this conference. It's going to be. I had somebody print it off for me. I'm still a paper guy but I haven't looked at each team's schedule. I saw maybe 1 or 2 that read an article quickly, but I didn't. Everybody's going to, I think, talk about who doesn't have to play who, and who has to play somewhere when it's cold. They never talk about when everybody has to play somewhere when it's hot. I always found that interesting, but I don't know. And that's what happens once you get past the 10-team league and you stop playing everyone. That's why, the no division thing I find very odd and things, but that wasn't your question. So, where we're at, I like where the bye week is. I think it fits at a good time. It's probably 1 week earlier, 2 weeks earlier than this last year. I chose no 2 consecutive road games. Pretty exciting that to me we got 7 home games. So hopefully that's something we'll try to do when we can. So all those things are great, and we get to play 3 of the 4,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, and we played Houston last year, so I guess we played them all in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Just going back to the transfer class a little bit, did you guys look at the playoff teams and were like, okay, there's something we want to take away and kind of bring into our transfer class?
I mean, like,
Yeah, like just looking at how they got to where they were.
yeah, I guess I didn't look at it that way. When you look at like TCU and how, you know, they were able to build it, I guess there's some uniqueness there. I think there's some geographical things that kind of help in that area. Not that Coach Dykes and his staff did do a great job. You know, I think you kind of look at how some of the other ones are built and the consistency in which they are. You know, I can't say I have or we have that way. What we want to do is how are we gonna create competition, upgrade each position each and every day. That's kind of what we're trying to do. Until we can get something balanced, I still think we're in early stages of the portal and where it's, you know, I did look that I want to say somewhere about, now I could be slightly off, just under 20 schools or so signed under 15 high school players the first signing period. I don't know, you know, how many more will be added like we did. So, you know, what does that mean? And okay, and then how many, you know, the next one is how many new players is everybody adding each year? What percentage of your scholarship roster is changing over? And then how many of those are actually seeing the field in the first year? Those are a lot of different things that we are trying to analyze a little bit more, because you know, the thing that was concerning, and I go back to that Texas game the first year, was how many young players we had on the field, and guys that were really, in most times you'd want to be redshirting them and putting weight on them, and you know, we've got some really young guys that were making plays in the defensive secondary, but they were under 165 pounds playing against guys that were going to be in the league very shortly. And you can't survive in this league week in and week out doing it that way. And so we're, you know, you're trying to watch what everybody's doing, and you know, I stood before you, all of you in May of 21 talking about being a developmental program. That's taken on a new term though, I think, because I don't think the days of, you know, everybody waiting 2 to 3 years for their opportunity is not going to be the case anymore, and you have to change with the times.
And kind of going back to the schedule, did you guys get any preferences at all, and were you involved at all with the process?
That's more a Travis Goff question than me. You know, I think you get to put a couple things in. I'm not sure. I don't know if they ask you if, like, when's your fall break, or there's something in the homecoming area maybe. I'm not really sure. I know who they're not asking, and that's Lance Leipold. So. But on that note, I do want to say one thing, because I do want to thank our administration, because there is one thing that I've tried to make a push for, and I know the first 2 years it you know, we had to make a concession to play on Fridays, which isn't always great with high schools, and especially our 2 local high schools in town. But to our administration making it happen that we could open the season on a Thursday night, which you see a lot of things. There's a lot of benefits for that, especially on a Labor Day weekend and stuff. Hopefully our student crowd and other things, I know that still be, but getting it out this early, having the opportunity there. So that is probably one thing I did get, okay? So.
I'm curious with Dylan McDuffie. You guys obviously recruited him at Buffalo. Can you walk us through how that all transpired, where I think he was headed to a different school and then shows up here? Can you just walk us through that and what you think he brings?
Well, yeah, Dylan was recruited. Dylan was one of the first, I got to double check now in my mind really fast, I would say, but based on our arrival, other than the quarterback that was there, Joe Licata, when we got to Buffalo, probably one of the first, much like we talk about things in state here, we walked into a very similar situation in Buffalo. It wasn't like a lot of guys were going to stay and play at UB. It was, but Dylan was one that did stay, and you know, our last couple of years, you know, Dylan was the third back. The other two, Jared Patterson's with the Commanders, and Kevin Marks, you know, was with the Chargers in camp. So he's with some good guys, but we use Dylan in different ways. Not this past season, but the 21 season, our first season here under the new staff. Dylan rushed for over 1,000 yards, really came into his own. showed everything that we thought he could be as well. He elected to follow his position coach to Georgia Tech. That was on the new staff there, the new staff at Buffalo. Then he left to go to Georgia Tech, as well as the strength coach that was with us at Buffalo before Coach Gildersleeve. So then Coach Collins was let go midway through the year. There were some changes in direction of what they wanted to do in the backfield. And of course, then back here, Kai Thomas decided to leave the program. So, we're looking for someone. We talked to a lot of people, and the more we went through it, it's a unique dynamic of what's in our back. Devin's been very productive in his 2 years, and we know where he's at. Daniel started off really well. We've got such, I say high hopes or whatever. We've shown that when those two guys are together, we're productive. So we wanted to have somebody that was going to understand the situation, maybe been in that situation and understanding, but also could be multiple, and somebody that's hungry for an opportunity. And then the more times you're checking out things in this very fast time of the portal, we had many discussions in it, and offensive staff had discussions, and then Rob Ianello, Andy Kolnicki, and myself, we kind of went through some things, Grant Murray and player personnel, and we decided that it's our best interest to go with the known versus the unknown. And one of the things that's been noticed right away is Dylan's work ethic as soon as he got in the weight room and how he goes about it. One of the other great things that once we made the decision and Dylan decided to commit, he sends me 4 clips from last season while I was at Georgia Tech, and they weren't him carrying the ball, it was him playing on the punt team. And he sent me, and he goes, send these to Coach Simpson and tell him I'm ready. And right now we don't have, that position group hasn't played a lot on special teams when we need them to. So when you bring someone that's doing that to me is something that's going to definitely help this football team.
One more for me, Jacoby Davis. You look at the offer list and it's pretty legit. What did that recruitment look like from your perspective, and what stood out about him?
Yeah, through the recruiting process can be, as you guys follow it. So, when the offer is there, who's all offered. But again, it's a lot of positions you don't, and with the portal, you just don't know how many people are taking at each position. So as we went through and when we were going through all of our options and talking about corners and younger versus older and things like that, every time, and he comes from an outstanding high school program who plays deep into the playoffs year after year. Well, when you get into December, let alone during the season, there's not a lot of time to take visits. And sometimes guys they kind of just feel it's going to work out. Well, we just kept hanging with it, and we made the decision to bring him on and to get him. Now, he's not the tallest, and and that sometimes can happen to guys, and that they fall off on some people. But watching him, and one thing we know we got to do, and I think Kobe and Romello have made really good improvement, as well as Kalen Gurman is being physical out on the perimeter and tackling. That's one thing Jacoby will do is he'll hit you, and he's as we say, he ain't scared, and he's going to go out and play, and he's going to be physical. He's going to come up, and again, everything that he's gone against, he's played against Keaton, and he's like, Keaton couldn't believe he's got great respect for him. So again, I think that's another fine addition, and for us to go into, get somebody from Dallas and get somebody from Austin, get somebody from Houston. You look at all the things we want to do in other places in this country, again, are going to pay dividends.
All right.
Doing all right. All right. Thanks, everyone.